Welcome back everyone to Formula 1 2021 for your race review for the 2021 Azerbaijan Grand Prix. It's safe to say, I didn't see that one coming. I don't think many people expected to see what we saw today with strategy, intrigue, drama right until the checkered flag, in particular late on in the Grand Prix, but plenty of stories up and down the grid for us to dive into in today's race review. So as always, if you are new, feel free to subscribe. But before we jump into your results, and just to give those an opportunity to go and watch the highlights if they've not seen the race just yet, we'll jump into our starting grid. Yesterday in qualifying, and for the second weekend in a row, Charles Leclerc took pole position for Ferrari. Hamilton and Mercedes were on the back foot on Friday, but second place for the British driver. What can he do come Sunday? On row 2, it was Verstappen and Gasly. Row 3, Sainz and Perez. Tsunoda and Alonso once again were side by side. On row 4, Norris with a 3-place penalty would start 9th, and Valtteri Bottas from Mercedes rounded out the top 10. Sebastian Vettel would start in 11th place, disappointed with Q2 yesterday, one of 4 red flags throughout the day, leaving him just outside the top 10. He would line up alongside Esteban Ocon. Ricciardo, a driver who caused one of those red flags, was 13th alongside Kimi Raikkonen on row 7. Row 8 was home to both Williams cars, with row 9 both Haas cars. Stroll and Giovinazzi both DNFing, both causing red flags in qualifying, rounded out your field. And with that out of the way, here is your result for today's Azerbaijan Grand Prix. I stuttered there for a moment, because this result is very much real. Sergio Perez claimed his first race victory for Red Bull Racing, his second in his Formula 1 career. Sebastian Vettel claimed Aston Martin's first ever Formula 1 podium, and Pierre Gasly claimed his third ever Formula 1 podium. An unlikely podium across all 3 accounts, but nevertheless a great result for all 3 drivers. Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris were 4th and 5th, both pushing Gasly all the way for that final podium position, thanks to our mini sprint race at the end of the day. More on that in a moment's time. Alonso claimed his best result since his return to Formula 1 this season, 6th place for the Spaniard, with his buddy of 2021, Yuki Tsunoda, getting his best result in his Formula 1 career, 6 points and 7th place. Carlos Sainz, an eventful day for the Spaniard, had to make plenty of moves after a mistake in the early stages. He came away with 8th in front of Daniel Ricciardo getting 2 points for McLaren, and Kimi Raikkonen picking up 1 in 10th, his first point of the 2021 season. Antonio Giovinazzi, a great comeback drive after his disappointing qualifying yesterday, starting 20th on the grid, finished P11, not a bad job from Italian Jesus. Bottas was the lead Mercedes car. That tells you all you need to know about how bad Mercedes' day was today. It was 12th for Valtteri, 15th for Lewis Hamilton, with both Haas cars splitting the 2 Mercedes cars. More on that, plenty more on that in a moment's time. Latifi was 16th, our final finisher here in Azerbaijan. Russell, Verstappen, Stroll and Ocon all failed to finish. And with a result like that, you just know we have got so much to get through in today's race rundown. But where else can we start than Red Bull Racing? Victory for Sergio Perez, his first in Red Bull colours, his second in Formula 1 history. And it wasn't an easy race for him, starting 6th, qualified 7th, but moved up thanks to Norris's penalty. A great start from Sergio saw him move past several cars, and by the end of lap 10 was well and truly in the fight for the podium positions. And after the first round of pit stops, Checo jumped Lewis Hamilton into 2nd place, where he would stay for the remainder of the Grand Prix. Verstappen, on the other hand, was leading things so comfortably. The only slight worry after getting past Charles Leclerc in the opening stages to take the lead was when Sergio Perez stayed out 1 lap later, but Checo went a little bit deep into his pit box. Verstappen, a 3-second lead for most of the race. But with less than 10 laps to go, drama hit the Red Bull team, hit the race In a way we needed it to, because up until lap 46, things had been a little bit uneventful, a little bit un-Baku-esque, if that makes any kind of sense. But drama struck. Max Verstappen's tyre failing, his right rear tyre heading down towards the first corner, into the barriers, a huge impact, very, very similar to what we saw with Lance Stroll about 20 laps prior. Verstappen out of the race, on the spot, red flag, giving us that 3 glorious lap sprint, which ended up being a 2-lap sprint finish, a standing start. Sergio Perez, could this be his moment to claim victory? Hamilton, into turn 1, looks like he had taken the lead. However, a huge mistake from the 7-time champion saw him go flying off at turn 1. Perez took the lead and never looked back. His first victory of the season, his first podium of the season, and in the context of 2021, a very up and down season so far for Sergio. A result like this, not even a result like this, a weekend like this, where confidence was clearly there. This can be only a good sign for Red Bull and gives them that extra bit of reassurance they made the right decision signing Sergio for 2021. Heartbreak for Verstappen, but he will know he still leads the standings. There are still plenty more races to go, but will Mercedes bounce back next time out in France when we get back to a traditional racing circuit as opposed to street racing in Baku? But well done Checo, well done Red Bull, who extend their lead in the constructors' standings. However, despite this unlikely victory, it's not the biggest surprise on our podium, because in second place today, from 11th place on the grid, is Sebastian Vettel. The race came to Vettel in terms of strategy, going out in Q2. He started on the soft tyres in the race, but by going out in Q2, he had an extra set late on for that restart and was able to keep with Sergio Perez, not fall behind the generally quicker cars of the Alfa Tauri, the McLaren and the Ferrari. But even before we got to that point, another awesome bit of strategy work from Aston Martin, deciding to once again go for the overcut strategy, which worked an absolute treat in the number 5 Aston Martin. For the number 18, Lance Stroll, things sadly for him went the exact way as Max Verstappen. A right rear tyre failure heading down the straight towards the start-finish line. Another really scary crash. And once again this season, and last season as well, too many questions for Pirelli. What's going on here, guys? This should not be happening in Formula 1, yet alone at a street circuit at the speeds they are doing in Baku. It's just not good enough from Pirelli. Work needs to be done, even if that means advising teams to do multiple pit stops. Not happy. Not a happy bunny with Pirelli this weekend. But for Seb, back to Seb, because Lance was out on the spot. And though his strategy looked like it may get points, crikey, did it work out well for Sebastian, who was able to move himself all the way up to 4th place after that overcut and a couple of awesome little overtakes throughout the race. That position then evolved into 3rd place once Max Verstappen's day came to an end, and then came a 2nd place once Lewis Hamilton made his mistake on our mini sprint race at the end of the day. A great couple of races for Sebastian, a real turn in form for both him and the Aston Martin team. But like Red Bull, I think Aston will be wary once we get back to these traditional circuits. I do wonder whether their pace will slip back into what it was like in those early 4 rounds. But today, they can have their moment. They well and truly deserved it. They have aced both of these street circuits, and Sebastian Vettel, I could not be happier to see him back on the podium where he belongs. Alfa Tauri. They've got a good car this year. They've got a very, very quick car this year. And they've got a very quick driver in the hands of Pierre Gasly. 3rd place for the Frenchman. His 3rd podium in Formula 1. And though today was quite a quiet day for Pierre, with the majority of the Grand Prix just holding on to that front group, the fact he was anywhere near that front group in the mix with the Red Bull cars, Hamilton and Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz as well for a stage of the Grand Prix, is a really solid effort. He then had to get his hands dirty. when push came to shove in that sprint race, fending off Charles Leclerc, fending off Lando Norris, the best wheel-to-wheel battle of the entire Grand Prix. He wanted that podium, he made it stick, he's come away with 15 points. A great drive again from my driver of the day in qualifying, and certainly is a candidate for driver of the day today. There's definitely a few others I would be more inclined to give driver of the day to, but a faultless performance from the Frenchman. His teammate, Yuki Tsunoda, his best result in Formula 1 history. Not a bad drive either. Lost out to Fernando Alonso on that restart. But on a track like Baku, which is normally so easy to make mistakes, especially in your first ever trip to the country, fair play for finishing in the points, and fair play for getting your best results in Formula 1. Even though his form of late has been a little shaky, I think this result is a really good way to prove people wrong and bounce back, building that confidence heading into the main European season. I wonder what Ferrari think about today. Pole position yesterday. It's easy to forget, isn't it? Considering the crazy finale we had to today's race and our awesome podium we ended up getting. But that race pace, which we queried yesterday and especially on Friday, didn't we, in our practice report, it just didn't look like they had the tyre wear capable of fighting with Red Bull, Mercedes, Alfa Tauri, and eventually Aston Martin. And that did come to the forefront of today's race, with Leclerc dropping back really early on behind Hamilton, Perez and Max Verstappen. Had to stop first out of all of those front runners and ultimately fell behind Gasly and Verstappen. And though there was a slight opportunity for a podium with that great battle with Pierre Gasly, Leclerc wasn't quite able to make the move stick. Fourth isn't a bad result, it's more points than McLaren, but 2 pole positions, a fourth and a DNF, I think there will be some frustration there. And Carlos Sainz, bless him, made a huge mistake early on in the race, going very deep at turn 2. Had it all to do, all the way down to 15th place, and actually had a really good drive, fighting his way back through the field to 8th place to score points in front of Daniel Ricciardo, Ferrari's main rival this year in the form of McLaren. So not a bad day when you consider the result, but at the end of the season, mistakes like that could be costly, even if the recovery was as good as it was today for Carlos Sainz. It was a mixed bag for McLaren. 5th for Lando Norris, 9th for Daniel Ricciardo, double points. Considering where they were yesterday and where they were in the opening stages, I think they'll take it. Lando Norris, with that 3-place penalty yesterday, fell backwards in the opening couple of laps, worked his way back through the field. In that middle phase, was one of those drivers on the move, and in that sprint race at the end, opportunities came his way, of course, moving 2 places forward thanks to Verstappen and Hamilton, and was very much in the fight with Leclerc and Gasly, but not quite able to get either of them on that final lap. Danny Ric, it's been a difficult start to the season. I said last time out in Monaco though, he's still inside the top 10. He's still scored points in every race except Monaco, but there's definitely still work to do. Lando Norris once again today was the main man at the McLaren, and considering both of them at one point of the race were very, very close on track position, they had a fight, didn't they, in the opening laps that we didn't sadly get to see Lando re-overtake Daniel Ricciardo after the Honey Badger sent one down the inside of turn 2, which was nice to see Danny Ric getting his elbows out once again. But not a bad day for McLaren, but they will know Ferrari once again got some good points, and also Aston Martin and Alfa Tauri closed in the gap. Alpine, Fernando Alonso secures a 6th place, his best result since his return to Formula 1 this season, and it all pretty much came together in that sprint race. We know how good Fernando is at race starts. We saw it in particular at his second stint at McLaren. We haven't seen it so far yet this season, but finally we got a glimpse in our mini sprint race. Most drivers were on brand new soft tyres or a couple of laps old soft tyres, and he made it work. Past Ricciardo, Sainz and Yuki Tsunoda in those closing stages of the race. A great result in terms of points and also momentum for Fernando and for Esteban Ocon, who's been on such a wave of form at the moment. disappointment yesterday in qualifying, being caught out by the red flag, and our first retirement from the race with an engine failure with only a handful of laps into the race. But sadly for Alpine, though they got a great result with Nando, in the constructors, their main rivals, Alpha Tauri and Aston Martin, were both on the podium. So it's definitely a mixed day for Alpine. For Alfa Romeo though, they've come away with the points, 10th and 11th. It's not a bad day at all. They know their fight really is with Williams and Haas. And though the Alfa Romeo is comfortably better than the Williams and the Haas, they need to get more points just in case there's that one fluky result where a Russell, a Schumacher, Latifi score a point somewhere and overtake Alfa Romeo. It's their second point of the season. Giovinazzi did a great drive from 20th to 11th, and Kimi did what Kimi does best. Keep out of trouble, score points, and move on to the next one. So we will do the same, because next up is the ones we really want to talk about. Mercedes, one of 3 teams not to score today. And actually, I've done my homework for you guys, so the fact you've made it this far is worth it. I'm going to treat you now to 3 bonkers statistics. First up, this is the first race since Japan 2013. Japan 2013, Grosjean got second place that day, so that's how long ago it was. The first race since Japan 2013 that neither Hamilton, Bottas or Verstappen haven't scored a point. And bear in mind, Verstappen wasn't in F1 till 2015. That's nuts in itself. But this gets more crazy because it's the first time since the USA and Brazilian Grand Prix in 2013 there's been no Mercedes on the podium. Almost an 8-season sprint where we've not seen a Mercedes over 2 weekends. And there's still one more. It's Lewis Hamilton's longest podium drought since Brazil 2017. 5 seasons ago. It's only a 2-race podium drought. And it's his worst drought since 2017. Hopefully those statistics lived up to my weighty expectations I set there. But it just proves the struggle Mercedes have had. Yes, the car wasn't good, but they had an opportunity to win this race. A very rare mistake from Hamilton sent him flying off in that sprint race. He'll be kicking himself because he will know that's a huge missed opportunity to get some major points over Max Verstappen. However, he will also be aware it's only a 1-point difference in the driver's standings. I think the bigger talking point here, which I could go on for a very long time, and I'll try my best not to, is Valtteri Bottas. 12th place in this race, and it's the first time this season he's beat Lewis Hamilton. So if you want to reach, there's your positive for Valtteri today. But the only 2 cars he beat today that didn't have issues were the 2 Haas cars. Yeah, the 2 Haas cars driven by the rookies, Schumacher and Mazepin. And even Mazepin had an issue today, didn't he, with that very wide moment into turn 4. And though Valtteri was holding on to that 1 point, fighting Norris for a good chunk, I would say half of today's race, in the latter stages, things just got worse and worse and worse. And when we got underway for our sprint race, they didn't improve. They tried to put him on a bit of an alternate strategy with some soft tyres to go for a fastest lap. Not that he could get the point, but the idea was that they could take it away from Verstappen. Even that didn't work out. But I'll stop myself there because I do sense myself going off into a ramble about Mercedes. So I will quickly talk about Haas, because though 13th and 14th doesn't sound particularly glamorous, and though most people won't care at all where Haas finished this year, by finishing 13th, Mick Schumacher not only is now up into 17th in the driver's standings, Haas have now jumped Williams. This result today could be huge for Haas, because if either team fails to score this year, it could very well be the result today puts Haas in front of Williams at the end of the season. And in all fairness to Schumacher, Not a great weekend last time out in Monaco, but on a circuit where the majority of drivers made a mistake at some point over the weekends, Mick kept things very, very clean. And actually in the race, it was almost inch perfect, except a pretty major incident where Nikita Mazepin blocked Schumacher down the straight. I've not seen the full replay, so I will hold judgment, but that was something that Schumacher has cropped up quite a bit in his post-race conferences and in some of the press releases released from Mick and the team after the race. So keep an eye on that over the next few days when that footage does surface, but a great day for the team in terms of the championship. And Williams, I do think it could have been a point or two today. I really do. They were right on the back of Valtteri Bottas, which in itself says enough. And poor Nicholas Latifi, who was 11th place after that restart, and maybe if things had gone his way, he may have been able to overtake another car, but he didn't get the opportunity because he had a 10-second stop-go penalty. And George Russell, a weekend definitely to forget, through no fault of his own. This place always seems to just hate George Russell with mechanical or strange failures. Do you remember that drain a few years ago? Poor G-Russ this weekend. Qualifying was only just able to get out after a major car failure, and only through red flags was he able to get out. And in the race, a late DNF wasn't able to take the start on our race restart at the end of the day. They'll be annoyed. They'll be kicking themselves. But again, they were almost there. Surely at some point this season, they'll be able to nick a point or two if things go their way. But before we go, we've just got enough time to jump into your drivers and constructors standings. And at the top, things are all the same. 105 for Max Verstappen, 101 for Lewis Hamilton. But in third place, it's Sergio Perez on the move after victory today, moving one place in front of Lando Norris. Charles Leclerc moves into P5, and Valtteri Bottas is down into 6th place on 47 points. Sainz is 7th. Your two podium boys, Gasly and Vettel, are 8th and 9th, and Daniel Ricciardo rounds out your top 10. Alonso, with his great result today in 6th, moves up to 11th, with teammate Esteban Ocon in P12. Stroll, a scary crash today, 9 points so far this season puts him in 13th, 1 in front of Yuki Tsunoda. It's the Alfa Romeo boys, Raikkonen leapfrogs Giovinazzi, 1 apiece. Schumacher, that all-important result today, moves him up to 17th. It's Russell 18th, Mazepin and Latifi your field. In the constructors, Red Bull extend their lead over Mercedes, Ferrari leapfrog McLaren, and it's all changed in the midfield. AlphaTauri move up to 5th, Aston Martin 6th, and Alpine drop down to 7th. Alfa Romeo double their score this season, moving up to 2. Haas jump in front of Williams, but both are yet to score. Yesterday, I gave my driver of the day to Pierre Gasly, but today, it's gotta be Sebastian Vettel, 11th to 2nd place, Aston Martin's first podium in Formula 1. Also Sergio Perez doing a great job, but my driver of the weekend, I gave him all the praise yesterday. He was great again today. Another podium for Pierre Gasly. It's my decision. Feel free to let me know your driver of the weekend and driver of the day in the comment section down below, and also let me know your race rating. I've gone with an 8 out of 10. I'm interested to see what you guys think, because I'm feeling this is a little bit high. I almost went 7, but the result we've got, that sprint race, was a 10. But up until that point, it wasn't great. I'm cool with an 8 though. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. And that just about wraps up proceedings here in Baku for another more than eventful day. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you are new, feel free to subscribe. If you liked, drop it a like. It really helps out the channel. Lets me know what you like and dislike. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.